Everyone thinks they know which UK cities to avoid. The names get thrown around on forums, in tabloids, in conversations where someone mentions a place and the whole room nods. But the city's locals actually warn you about after dark aren't always the obvious ones. Some have won regeneration awards. Some have brand new waterfronts. Some look completely fine at 2 in the afternoon. The daytime tells one story. The night tells something else. 10 UK cities where the surface and the reality have quietly separated. Bradford sits 15 miles from Leeds in the M62 corridor, and right now it is carrying one of the North's most striking contradictions. It is UK City of Culture 2025. The investment is real, the cultural ambition is genuine, and parts of the city centre are visibly changing. But walk into Manningham or Lidgett Green after dark, and you are in a completely different conversation. Locals have been specific about these streets for years. Terraced homes still available under £100,000 keep pulling buyers in from the Leeds commuter belt. But Bradford is large and deeply uneven. The rebranding is happening at the top. The streets where the warnings apply have not moved. Middlesbrough has been waiting for its moment for 40 years. The steel went, the jobs followed, and the city has been in structural decline long enough that an entire generation grew up inside it. Now there's the Teesside Freeport, the South Tees development zone, genuine political attention. From a distance, it looks almost optimistic. Then you walk Newport Road after dark, or through the Gresham area, and you find vacancy rates among the highest in England and poverty that isn't hidden. 3-bed terraces under £80,000 keep drawing people in. But the promised jobs haven't arrived at scale. Middlesbrough is betting on a future that's coming. The gap between now and then is where locals tell you to be careful. Hull sits at the end of the M62, one road effectively in and out, famously isolated from the rest of the country in a way that shapes everything about daily life there. The 2017 City of Culture bounce was real. The waterfront improved. But Hull is big enough that the parts that don't get photographed stayed exactly as they were. Bransholme is one of the largest council estates in Europe. Parts of the city centre after dark feel exposed in ways the brochures don't mention. House prices are very low and community identity is fierce. But the geographic isolation is a daily cost that outsiders consistently underestimate. The photographed city and the city people actually live in are not the same place. Stoke-on-Trent sits at the junction of the M6 and the A500, 45 minutes from Birmingham, equidistant from Manchester, as well placed on a road map as almost anywhere in England. And yet, it keeps getting bypassed economically. The Potteries were 6 separate towns merged in 1910 that never fully unified. Hanley is the official centre, but Longton, Tunstall and Burslem each have their own identity, connected by patchy buses and decades of promised regeneration that arrived in fragments. After dark in parts of Hanley and Tunstall, the high street vacancy tells a long story. Mid-terraces under £90,000 are pulling in buyers priced out of the Birmingham and Manchester corridors. The location on paper looks brilliant. The lived reality in the wrong postcode reminds you why the price is still where it is. Wolverhampton is 12 miles from Birmingham and now metro connected, which is the line every estate agent in the West Midlands is currently leading with. It works. Birmingham city centre in 30 minutes is a real draw, and prices are still well below the city it connects to. But Wolverhampton is much larger than one tram corridor. Whitmore Reens, parts of Bilston, the Ring Road area after dark, locals are precise about which streets and at what hour. The regeneration is real in the city centre. The surrounding neighbourhoods are on a completely different schedule. Your postcode in Wolverhampton determines not just your property value, but which version of the city you're actually living in. Blackpool, the tower, the lights, the promenade in August, when the whole thing almost convinces you it never ended. Then November arrives and the spectacle disappears. Blackpool holds some of the highest concentrations of deprivation in England. Health outcomes in the inner town are among the worst in the country. The streets behind the seafront, Reveux, parts of South Shore, exist in a completely different reality from the one on the postcards. House prices are very low, but the buyer profile has shifted heavily toward investors. The illuminations still pull visitors. 2 streets back from the promenade in winter, the spectacle is completely gone. The postcard and the daily reality have fully and irrevocably separated. Sunderland has real economic anchors: the Nissan plant, a growing software sector, a functioning university, and metro connections to Newcastle. By post-industrial northern standards, those are genuine assets. It also has Hendon, parts of Pallion, a city centre that at night shows what decades of uneven investment leaves behind. The metro to Newcastle is useful. It doesn't fix the postcodes it runs through. Sunderland is spatially fractured in a way the map doesn't show. Neighbourhoods that look close together feel worlds apart socially. The investment landed somewhere. The bottom postcodes carry the full weight of what didn't arrive. Locals on both sides of that line know exactly which half they're in. Grimsby sits on the South Humber, 30 miles from Hull, with no motorway access and a train to Lincoln that takes well over an hour. It was the UK's largest fishing port. The fishing largely went. Food processing came in. Now the offshore wind sector is bringing real Humber investment, and Grimsby is positioned as a key service hub. That story is genuine. It mostly lives offshore and in policy documents. On Freeman Street and in the inner postcodes, the town still looks like the economic tide went out a long time ago. House prices are among the lowest in England, but the isolation is severe. The employer base outside food processing is thin, and the gap between Britain's green energy narrative and Grimsby's inner streets is one of the sharpest contradictions in the country right now. Hartlepool is on the Teesside coast, 10 miles from Middlesbrough, carrying a fierce local identity built over generations and some of the most persistent deprivation in England. The marina is a genuine pocket of reinvention. It is also small, self-contained, and completely unrepresentative of the broader town. The inner estates have been in decline for decades. Town centre vacancy is severe. You can buy property in Hartlepool for figures that feel almost unreal by national standards, and those figures reflect everything. Jobs, connectivity, services, and opportunity are all limited. The regeneration money stopped at the waterfront. A mile inland, it's a completely different story. This is what long-term structural decline looks like when the investment stays at the postcard edge and nowhere else. And then there's Rochdale, 10 miles from Manchester on the M62, served by the Metrolink. By every transport measure, it sits inside the Greater Manchester success story. The tram to Manchester Piccadilly is real, and it works. Greater Manchester has been one of the UK's most compelling urban renewal narratives for 2 decades, and Rochdale is technically part of it. Technically, because Rochdale also contains some of the most persistently deprived ward clusters in the entire Greater Manchester area. Milkstone and Deeplish, a town centre that after dark is genuinely difficult in ways that have been consistent for years. The birthplace of the cooperative movement, now functioning primarily as a commuter satellite, where the logic is simple. Manchester prices, Rochdale mortgage. But the prosperity runs out of Manchester somewhere around the Ring Road. Rochdale is on the other side of that line, close enough to feel the boom, far enough that it never fully arrives. These 10 cities aren't failures. They're the places where the UK's uneven geography becomes impossible to ignore. Every single one has a genuine asset, a price point, a transport link, an investment headline. Every single one has a shadow. The daytime doesn't show. Regeneration and decline don't happen in different cities anymore. They happen within the same ring road, sometimes within the same postcode. The locals warning you about certain streets after dark aren't being dramatic. They're telling you the part that didn't make the brochure. The map is shifting, just not evenly.